For further analysis, we're joined from Moscow by the political science professor, Dr. Amar Qanah. Dr. Amar, thank you so much for joining us. And delving right in, how significant is this first face-to-face negotiation between Russia and Ukraine in over 3 years for achieving a lasting ceasefire?
Greetings to everyone. Undoubtedly, this long-awaited step can actually lead to stopping the war. But today we have a little different reality compared to the first negotiations that took place also in Istanbul in 2022. We have a different military geographics that are completely different compared to the condition before. We have U.S. the intervention regarding how to address this crisis and how to deal with Russia. And we also have the European party that is very stubborn and want to continue the military operations, and they are the only supporter now for Ukraine regarding the political and military escalation. This step, if addressed correctly by Kiev, will be the survival for Ukraine and for the European party, who have made a lot of mistakes politically recently.
Now, with the United States in the picture, what are the main obstacles likely to affect the success of these trilateral talks involving the United States, Ukraine, and Russia?
There aren't direct negotiations between the three sides, but there is the mediation and Turkish existence facilitating the talks. But we have seen a statement by the Secretary of State of the U.S. That he's not very optimistic with these talks after the Ukrainian side stalled the negotiations, and he stressed that this conflict will not be resolved except with direct meeting between Trump and Putin. And this means that the crisis, as I have stated before, is a geopolitical crisis directly linked to the security and the geopolitical interests of Russia and the United States with its Western cluster. So the conflict is a lot broader than that, and there is a U.S. desire to reach a ceasefire or reach a solution, and it's playing the role of the mediator, but essentially they led this alliance against Putin for 3 years, politically and military, and the U.S. is still giving Ukraine weapons and intelligence information. And this is a complete security equation in the European region, and we can see that this equation is flawed regarding the relations between Europe and the United States. Undoubtedly, these talks are very positive steps if Ukraine commits to what will be agreed upon later on.
Now, speaking of the Turkish mediation, how influential is Turkey's role as the host and mediator in facilitating progress during these negotiations?
I don't think that Turkey can actually affect the course of negotiations. We have seen some pressure, and the Turkish media talking about the Turkish pressures on Zelensky to take part in these talks. But personally, I see Istanbul and Turkey as a platform that is appropriate for all the parties to meet there, and they are very symbolic regarding the first meetings were held also in Istanbul, and the Kremlin regards these negotiations as completing the first negotiations that took place in April 2022. And we have seen also that Turkey is trying to keep the balance in the relations, and we wouldn't forget that Turkey is a member in the NATO, and it enjoys very good relations with Russia and they isolate the issues that they're dealing with. Ukraine is different from they are dealing with Russia. There are energy supply chain between Russia and Turkey, and Turkey is committing to the principle of non-bias.
Now, assessing Russia's strategy here, how realistic is Russia's proposed resumption of direct talks, and what might Moscow's strategic goals be in these negotiations?
First off, there is a clear intention and a determination to come up with results, most important of which reaching a political solution for this crisis, and not for only the understanding of a ceasefire as proposed by the Ukrainian side and its supporters from Europe. We are talking about a new reality today. There are demands and claims, and Ukraine has agreed to not join the NATO regarding the volume of the Ukrainian army and how it's armed, and among other issues. Today we're facing a new reality, and this is what also desired by Russia, which is approving the regions that are annexed to Russia based on referenda. These districts now, since 2014, and after the political process, 4 districts were annexed to Russia. This is the principle for Russia, and they are requesting the recognition of these Russian districts. And these will be excuses for any military operation in the future.
From Moscow, that was the political science professor, Dr. Amar Qanah. Thank you so much for joining us here on Q News and for all the information you provided us with.